Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives on how to approach a career in the field from different artists, producers, engineers, and other great minds who share their stories on not only what's made them succeed, but also what has shaped them into the people that they are today. I hope you gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you in your endeavors on your own journey towards success as well. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone, episode 144 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creator Series. Today I welcomed an artist. She's currently in Chicago, originally from the LA area, Evyn. I actually connected with her back in the fall of last year, around the time she dropped her single called Malibu. We talked about working on music together and all that stuff, so I was happy to get her on the show today to learn more about her and her story. She talked about the reason that she moved to Chicago, kind of to just continue her growth as an individual and to, help her art in general, and kind of just get a new environment and be surrounded by new things. And I think that's great that she's embracing that next chapter of her life. She talked about all the music she has lined up for 2023. Could be projects, could be singles. We'll see how that goes. So I'm definitely excited to hear all of that. And overall, I think Evyn just has a great outlook on, keeping the emotion alive in music, keeping the emotion alive in people. Because at the end of the day, I think we make music to invoke emotion and really just help people out. So I think she's doing it for all the right reasons. And I hope you guys enjoy this episode and get a lot from it. So without further ado, let's get into this one. Welcome everyone to episode 144 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creator Series. Today we have a great artist. She's originally from the LA area, currently in Chicago. Been connected with her for the last several months. Evyn is here. How are you?
Hey, how you doing? I'm good. Thank you for having me on here.
No problem. And like I said, I've been excited for this one because I know that we've been connected for a while. And like I said, I see you doing some great stuff. And to start off every episode, we have the guest kind of give some background. How did you get into music originally? How long have you been doing it? Pretty much basic information for those that might not know you and what you do.
Yeah. So I started off doing music just as a young kid, almost like most musicians. Started off in the church, and then eventually grew through that. I made a few connections there. They had me doing various gigs, working professionally for big names like Mariah Carey, John Legend, Quincy Jones, things like that. I got to see kind of what it was like being in the studio, seeing their creative process, and I loved it, and I wanted to be a part of it. And then ever since then, I knew I wanted to pursue music and go in there myself. So I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's kind of good to get that at an early age too, I feel like. And it's almost like, I think everyone kind of starts at different points too, or even when they... Because I always think there's a bit of a difference, too, from, being a fan and then deciding you want to pursue it as an artist yourself and kind of do the whole thing. And it's like, when you finally dive into that whole world, it's like it takes you so much further than you ever thought, because
Absolutely.
I think when we're growing up and we see, our favorite artists, we don't know the amount of work that they put in sometimes. And then once you start, you're just like, this is so much work, but it's worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can just see that evolution over time. And I'm sure for you, that's been kind of how that's gone. Is just
100%. Even in that retrospect, from seeing artists who are already established or already kind of where you want to be, seeing them with their team and stuff. Yeah, they do have work ethic, but what you really don't see is when an artist is just starting, when they have to play, wear the many hats and play the different roles and really actually put time, effort, work, and energy in there. It's definitely different than what people see.
Yeah. And especially now, we're kind of in this era where it's a lot more accessible to be an artist, but there's still a lot of work to be put in, especially as an independent artist. You kind of just got to work and just see where it goes. And just to look back and just see that, how you started and then just where you are now, and then it just continues. And I always say, if you can look back and see the progress, you're doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Because you're not just staying stagnant and staying in the same spot. So that's awesome to hear for you. Now, you're from the LA area, so, what kind of sparked the move to the Midwest, to Chicago? Is that for, strictly for, purposes of networking, things like that? Or, what led to that decision?
Yeah, so I'm decided on Chicago because I once heard a quote, which I'm probably going to butcher it, but it was basically the gist of it was that sometimes you need to leave home in order to grow. You know what I mean? There's quotes on it. There's also, it's in the Bible as well. But I really, really believe that, especially just because of how dense the creative culture is in Los Angeles. I figured it would be better to move somewhere else to not only expand my knowledge, expand what I'm used to, get to learn it, but also as a self-discovery aspect. You know, a lot of people don't notice that as an artist, a huge part of it is kind of discovering yourself and seeing kind of who you are and getting more familiar with that. And sometimes in order to do that, you know what I mean, you need to expand your horizon.
Yeah.
So Chicago, being the hub it is for music, jazz, R&B, you know, rock, everything, I definitely wanted to come over here and see the culture that was here, learn from it, acknowledge it, and respect it. You know, especially coming here has been a blast. It's been everything. It's what I've needed. So it's been great.
Yeah, I definitely love that. And I've heard that from a lot of different creatives, especially people that, you know, they're from, like you said, LA's kind of like, there's a lot going on. I can imagine that can get overwhelming, even if you're, you know, from there originally. It's like there's so many things going on. It can kind of be easy to lose yourself in all of that. So just kind of like get out of there and just like figure something out elsewhere and just see where it goes. And it's actually funny because I have a friend from Chicago and he moved to LA, so he kind of did it in reverse.
A lot of people do that. Yeah. It's funny because a lot of people who are in LA aren't really from LA. Yeah. They're from Chicago, you know, St. Louis, places like that, and they just move over for work. So.
Yeah, he did it for work too because he's an artist as well. He works in the sync industry too, so he moved there for work and stuff like that. But I definitely think it's just, you know, case by case basis too, and like you said, it's for the good for you as well, for personal growth and just development as an artist and really just kind of moving your life and into a new chapter. So I think that's awesome to hear, and I'm glad that it's been working out for you very well over there. I actually haven't been to Chicago yet. I do know, like, my friend has family over there. He's always like, dude, you got to come out eventually. Haven't been there yet, believe it or not. And I'm only like 2 states away too, but definitely want to make it out there. And I've heard great things about just the art in the city and just the creative energy as well. And it's kind of like, it kind of gets lost in the sauce a little bit because of, you know, it's not New York, it's not LA, but it's in the Midwest. I feel like everything in the Midwest kind of gets lost a little bit, but there is those like homes of just great creatives doing great things. So
Absolutely.
I think you're definitely in there. So.
For sure. I mean, if you look, like, some of our biggest artists do come from the Midwest, and I agree. A lot of the Midwest, a lot of the art here in the Midwest does get slept on, but it's very original and it's unique to themselves, and it's less industry, which I think is something that does kind of get lost. I mean, when you look, Michael Jackson is from here, Prince is from here. You know what I mean? Even newer artists like Smino, you know, and Kanye West came from here. So it's definitely something that needs to be acknowledged more, for sure.
It'll be interesting to see if it ever kind of gets there, because we've seen cities like Atlanta and like Houston, they have, you know, they didn't start out as having big scenes either, and then they kind of over time got their own thing going on. So it'll be interesting. I mean, obviously Chicago hip hop's always been a big thing, but I don't think it's ever been as prominent as, you know, some other places, or at least looked at the same. But like we said, with just the amount of independent artists, the amount of opportunity, it's like they could make small towns to be hubs of, you know, creativity and things like that. It's really, the rules are kind of going away, which is great, because people can kind of make their own way and just kind of create new lanes. So
I think a big proponent of that is to make sure that once you've gained your leverage and your clout per se, once you've got your foundation, build where you're from, build where you're at. And like you said, a lot of people, they'll get their leverage and then they move and they go other places and continue to feed there instead of where they come from. Yeah. So build where you're at.
It's good to give back too, you know, give back to the next generation, kind of just think of it of, you know, look at where you came from and you want better for the next generation. Like, why not give back?
Yeah.
Why not do that and lend that helping hand? So that's great stuff. I love that. So as far as like the music goes for you recently, because obviously you produce, you songwrite, you do all kinds of stuff. So how's the process been lately as far as like what you're putting your time on? Are you doing more songwriting? Are you doing more just recording your own tracks? What do you think it's been like in the last few months?
The last few months for me, I've really been trying to focus more so on the production side. I'm of course always writing. that writing is like second nature to me. I wrote a song today, which is I'm excited to build on that. But yeah, the production side, I definitely want to get more acclimated to.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I will co-produce, or I'll get other beats and stuff like that. But I've produced some of my songs that will be coming out this year, and I noticed the how sacred it is to actually have a beat that you made, how more interpersonal it can be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And the way that the message can be carried in that, because every aspect of the song is a reflection of you and who you are. So I definitely wanted to hone into that a little bit more. That's one of my focuses this year.
So you kind of covered the next question, because it was going to be, how has producing benefited you as an artist? And you kind of just hit the nail on the head there. Is like, it kind of gives you like that upper edge and that like second advantage to kind of be like, I can craft this song from nothing, and then I can songwrite to it and just like craft the full story myself and really make it what you want to make it. So I always love that. And because I've talked to like several artists too that, they try to do both, and they're like, well, sometimes I run out of time to do like one or the other. But it's like, if you can find that balance, I think that's like, you're just doing so much great work for yourself, and you're like getting half the job done before you even have to move forward with like mixing or anything like that. You know what I mean? You already have like the full basis of the song ready to go. So I think that's going to be great to hear. And I want to get into, what you got coming up toward the end. But for now, let's talk about like the last couple releases, because you just dropped Fasttt, which was in December, I think. And Malibu was, I think, the one before that. So like, let's talk about those to start off with. And how do those kind of like contrast from one another? Because I know they're a little bit different.
They're very different.
What's like the stories behind those two, and like why did you choose to drop like Malibu and then Fasttt and kind of just do it that way?
Yeah, so Malibu, being out here, I'm not used to 4 seasons. I'm only used to really sun. So being out here, especially in the wintertime, and seeing how long the winter can be, it did kind of make me a little homesick, of having that golden sun on, your skin, and being able to go to the beach whenever. So I kind of played with that. I kind of wanted to bring that nostalgic feeling, and I incorporated that in Malibu. That's kind of where I would go to, quote unquote, hide. That's one of the lyrics I put in there too. It's a place I like to go and just sit and think sometimes. So I released that one in the summertime. It's nice, easygoing summer vibes, nice chill. Now Fasttt was more on the slower. I kind of associate like the songs I make with colors or seasons. So Malibu is definitely like a summer song. Fasttt is more like an autumn, like a fall song. You know what I mean? Fasttt was about a relationship that I had. We've all done it before, where you moved a little bit too fast into it and you learn from it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I came from. Nevertheless, don't regret anything, but yeah. So they're different.
Yeah. Just wanted to take a quick minute out of this episode to let you know about our current sponsor, SessionWire. If you've ever used Zoom before, then you'll be right at home with SessionWire. They allow you to connect face-to-face with anyone, anywhere, by sending them a single link to your very own personal SessionWire studio. SessionWire Studio is a virtual control room that combines many familiar tools like video, voice, file transfer, chat, and storage. And it also allows an industry-first separate HQ audio channel for listening to and recording with studio quality sound. And I'm very excited to, be on board with SessionWire and have them, sponsor the podcast for the next few months. It will also be giving away 3 versions of their brand new V3 software in April, which I'm very excited about as well. So be on the lookout for that. But if you want to, know more about SessionWire now and you want to get started today, go to sessionwire.com. And with their VIP early bird pre-launch offer, you'll be able to get SessionWire's artist plan for only $99, plus a free year of the all-new SessionWire Studio when it officially launches if you use the pre-purchase code ProvenKnowledge22. That's ProvenKnowledge22. Once again, very excited to have SessionWire on board, and stay tuned for the giveaway. But for now, let's get back into the episode. I was about to say, it's great to kind of do that too in your music, as far as like it's almost like some of those real emotions that we collect and some of the real life stories we have, it's hard to kind of like get them out there. But as creatives, we just are able to channel it in the music. You know what I mean? I think that's
Absolutely.
like one of the best parts about being a like musician in general is just we can put things in there that we could never say to anyone. You know what I mean? And it just makes more sense. So
yeah. I mean, people gotta remember too that a lot of times artists start making music because they feel like that's the only way people actually do hear them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Exactly, and it's one of the realest outlets. You know what I mean? It's just something that there's something about that like raw, real energy that can come out of it too. And then I feel like people almost relate to that more because it's kind of the same thing where the people that hear it, they might be the same way. They don't like to express themselves like directly. It's more indirectly. You know what I mean? So they can hear that and be like, "Wow, that's exactly what I'm going through." You know what I mean? But I could never like explain that to someone else.
For sure.
So
I mean, even in your production, I hear it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's use it. It goes crazy. I
was about to say, I always try to hit them with some emotional stuff. That's for sure.
So,
absolutely. That's definitely the goal. But yeah, I love those last two songs you put out, like Fasttt especially, because I remember that's like the freshest one, and I was just a fan of the sound of that and everything. And we'll get into, like I said, what's coming next here. Is there any collaborators, anyone you want to shout out here on the show that we should know about, that we should look into or hear their music as well?
Oh, yeah. I have a song coming out with my buddy. He goes by Master Steve. He's an exciting guy. He produces his stuff. He mixes stuff, records his stuff, everything. He's a great artist. He's super dope. I have another song that's going to be coming out soon with a rapper named Chino G. He's over from the East Coast. Really good stuff. So, yeah. There's a lot of good energy coming out in 2023. It's awesome. I'm so excited. Nice. I'm so excited.
It's great. It's a great time of year, too, because we're still at that beginning stage where, like, the plans are coming into motion, but you're like, I can't wait to put this stuff out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just like, you put all this hard work in, and then you're kind of mapping it out, and you're like, can't wait to, see where it goes. I did want to backtrack as well. I almost forgot, like, because you mentioned some people earlier in the episode, but who, let's just say nowadays, even new artists, like who have you been listening to lately? Who do you constantly ride around and listen to their music, all kinds of stuff like that? Like who you draw influence from, at least like the last few months, I guess?
Oh man, although I love my R&B, I love when genres mix. I know that's like a newer thing now. So I'm always interested in, hearing different songs and things like that, and different components, whether it be from reggaeton to Afrobeat to, rock to even traditional, Oriental music. Like, I'm always interested. Some of the artists that I have been really drawn and fascinated to recently, there is an artist named Che Crew, which I hope I'm not saying his name wrong, but it's CHEECRU. That guy has great vibes in his music. Chris Brown is always Chris Brown is just crazy. His work ethic is wild. The way that he's so versatile. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. There's another newer artist named Destin Conrad. He's really cool. He's a great I don't know, a personality, but he's really genuine and true in his music. Like his music reflects him. Mm-hmm. Man, the list can go on. The list can go very far. I'm thinking it's funny too because the past week I've been going back and listening to older stuff. So I went through all of Mariah Carey's old collection. I listened to Drake's older albums that I kind of skipped over. You know what I mean? And just hearing those and just trying to learn from like the older cats.
Yeah.
Seeing what was going on there too. It's a mix of everything.
Yeah, it's great too because even like Chris Brown, for example, his discography is so lengthy. Like you could sit there for so long and just dive into all his tracks. Man!
Oh my gosh! I'm so sorry. I almost forgot. Eric Bellinger. How could I forget?
Oh, Eric Bellinger. Eric Bellinger's great.
A genius. Yeah. A genius. It's crazy.
He's pretty slept on, honestly. I feel like.
Very slept on. He wrote most of the hits that you hear on the radio, and he has hits himself, and he produces at the same time. He is a a 360. He's an MVP right there.
Yeah.
He's very stuck on. He's getting recognition now. But yeah.
I was gonna say, and he's another artist. He does a lot of features, does a lot of like his own work as well. Putting out, I think he just dropped like a song. I want to say like this past week. I haven't heard it yet, but I saw people talking about it. I discovered him through Wale because I'm a big Wale fan. He always collabed with him a lot. So I was like, yeah, Eric's pretty dope, and I've even done like type beats with Eric Bellinger. I was like, I wonder if anyone will like pick that up because I don't know like how many people know of him, but he's been around for a while, so doing his thing. So that's awesome, and it's great to hear. Just look back at like these artists have inspired me, and there's just so many great artists popping up all the time. Like I feel like myself, like I was kind of stuck in my ways musically for a long time, where I would only listen to like a few artists. I think since like the streaming era started and things like that, and we can discover more people, I've discovered so much great music from people, and I'm like, I didn't even know this person existed, but this is amazing. And I'm listening to stuff like every day. So it's just great, and I love kind of the era we're in as far as the artist discovery aspect of it is amazing. So for like consumers, I think it's great. Obviously for the artists, we got to get some things sorted out still, but it's exciting times that we're in for sure.
For sure.
So let's talk about what is coming up then, because you said 2023 is going to be big. I don't know if you have like do you have an EP, album, maybe just some singles? Like what can you reveal that we should be on the lookout for then?
So I definitely have enough music to go ahead and drop a few projects. I will not drop projects yet, just because I still want my music to get some ears and things like that. But a lot of songs, I say I'm very excited for 2023 because I feel like I'm becoming more vulnerable than ever in my music. I've over time have been learning not only how important and how valid vulnerability is in music, but also just in general and in life. As my music evolves, I'm evolving as well. You know what I mean? So this is something I'm definitely excited to share and let out and let go of. And hopefully my main goal especially is to be vulnerable so that it's a little bit easier for other people too as well. Talking about things that haven't really been talked about, emotions that we're all feeling but have been trying to hide behind or act like we haven't felt them. I feel like it's really important to feel every emotion because it makes us human. So I really want to help people to be able to feel comfortable feeling that as well.
Yeah. Well, I for one am excited for it. I'm ready to hear whenever it comes out, so I'll be on the lookout. And like I said earlier, I think that's all you can do as an artist is really just try and give back in that way, and just hopefully it affects someone. I always say if you can affect like a total stranger you never met and they say, your music like helped me get through the day, like that's what we do it for. You know what I mean? So that's
the goal.
That's awesome. That's incredible, and definitely excited to see what you got coming up. So last few questions here, and these are ones I ask on every episode. The first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
I wouldn't change anything at all. And I say that because in every aspect of my life, I've learned that it's a lesson. It's something to learn from. If I even were to change a hair, on my head 10 years ago, it could affect my future or my present now. You know what I mean? I try to go into situations and acknowledge the fact that, hey, I'm still learning. I'll make mistakes, but I'm still growing. And that the growth aspect is the most important part. So yeah, I'm grateful for everything that has happened in the past, and I'm grateful for everything that will happen in the future, and I'm grateful for my present now. Yeah. And all you can do is make the best of it, So
exactly. I honestly feel like that's like it's kind of like growing older, getting wiser type thing. Because I feel like when you're a kid, it's like hard to understand that stuff, and you're just like you don't get it fully, and you're just like, why is this stuff happening? The older you get, it's like you start to realize why it happened and like why things still happen, and then there's just more of that understanding from the growth as well. So I feel exactly the same way myself. So that's awesome. So in 10 years, where do you think you want to be? Where do you think you envision yourself in your life and your career as well?
Oh man, when people ask that question, I used to say, I want 2 Grammys. One of which was writing for another artist, and another one for myself. All this stuff is actually, the number would change. I'm trying to teach myself not to focus on accolades. Someone once told me, birds, they don't sing because they think they're going to win a Grammy. You know what I mean? And so I hold that into myself as well, and remember why I make the music. I made music and wanted to start making music before I knew that there were any accolades or anything like that. In 10 years, I would love to have the freedom to create, to live, to gain more understanding of life and of people. I would love for, people to also feel safe feeling, have that safe space feeling. And to be honest, if I can, I know it's a big feat, but changing the culture to making feeling cool again, making emotions cool again. I hate the fact that, it's a trend to not feel. Like, we do so many things to not feel, whether, it's through vices, through distractions, whatever. No, emotions is what makes us human. It's what makes us real. It shows you that you're alive, that you're living. You know what I'm saying? That would be my goal in 10 years. Just the freedom to create, to feel, to love, and probably, if I can, change the culture a little bit. So
that sounds like great goals to me. And it's like you said earlier, you really can't. You can only deny those feelings for so long. You know what I mean? You can push them down all you want, but they're not going away. You know what I mean?
The more you suppress them, the harder they come back up.
Exactly. And it's really a shame that a lot of people don't see it that way, I guess. But I guess it's just how we're taught in society too. Because I think we're always taught to be no, just ignore it, don't address it. It'll just you'll live your life, you'll be fine. But it's that's not healthy. You know what I mean? It's not healthy to do those types of things, and it's definitely better to kind of just get through it in a better way, I guess. So. Yeah. I definitely commend you for that, and I think that what you're doing is great. And I think, like you said, I think just the opportunities you're going to have moving forward to do it even at a higher level is going to be incredible to see. So it's going to be.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's going to be awesome. So do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
Man, enjoy life. Learn from it. Don't take anything too seriously, but don't take it too lightly either. Make sure to, I know, I'll repeat it and I'll sound redundant, but make sure that you give yourself the safe space to feel. Give yourself that time, because, you deserve it. It's valid. You know what I mean? All emotions are valid. But sit with them, ponder on them, think about them. It happens for a reason. You know what I mean? But never suppress them, because that's not showing yourself self-love. So,
Exactly. Well, Evyn, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You.
That's all I have for you today.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I just want to say once again, I appreciate you for agreeing to do this, and this was a great time. We'll have to do this again soon for sure, a part 2.
Absolutely.
Thanks everyone for listening today. That was episode 144. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds. And feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks, guys.